Hi students, today we'll be looking at chapter 1 and chapter 4 of a revision. Let's start. So these are the things that I need you to put it on your table today. Writing materials, chapter 1 and chapter 4 notes and foolscap. These are all the items that I have stated in my last Friday lesson. So if you did not know what to bring, it just means that you didn't attempt last Friday's lesson. So if you did not bring along, stand up. I will deal with you tomorrow. Kaylin will write down all the girls' name, if there's any girls who didn't do so, and Danish will write down all the boys' name, if there are boys who didn't do so. And after that, take a photo and send to me after school. So for our lesson today, we'll be going through chapter 1 revision guiding questions, as these are the questions that I say that I'll be going through today. And some of you might not know how to answer the questions, or might not know where to start, or might not know where to find these answers. And after that, I'll give you a science pun to give your mind a break, followed by a live lessons, whereby if you have any questions related to chapter 1, you can post on this Socrates platform using a mobile phone. And I'll be going through a consolidation of chapter 4, which you have done like last Friday, which is on distillation, where I show you an experiment setup of how distillation works, followed by revision guiding question on chapter 4, and if time permits, you have a Kahoot. So for the last part, the Socrates platform, if you have any questions, you can post it there even after school, so that we can address it in tomorrow's lesson. So let's start. Okay, so for the revision guiding questions, it's over here. And if you want to revisit some of the videos, you can look at this science video archive. So let's look at the guiding questions. Click here. After that, you'll give you this Excel sheet. So all these guiding questions over here, they're actually your learning outcomes that you need to learn for each chapter. So for each chapter, right, I have like rephrased it in the form of a question so that you can ask yourself while you learn, right? Like for example, is science only confined in the lab? So you can learn actively and question yourself so that there'll be like some learning involved. Because if you just read every page just like that without any like questioning ongoing, the next moment you'll forget everything. So I rephrase this learning outcome into questions so that you can learn it and you can keep track on like whether you have understood these concepts or not. If you have not understood, means you need to find out ways to like answer these questions, and they are simply from your notes. So you can see, right, is science only confined in the lab? It can actually be found in your notes, page 2. Study of science is not confined to the lab. So this is how you study. So if you can understood this part, you can put a tick on your own foolscap paper to say that you have understood these questions here. Okay, so how to link to your daily life, right? You can just link it as like we can do experiment outside of lab. So what are the attitudes, skills, or procedure required for a scientific inquiry, and what do they mean? So if you scroll down, so if you look at your own worksheets, right, you realize that there's a bottom part over here, there's this attitude in science. So a good scientist should observe what they see around them. Okay, so once they have seen something, after that you start to questions. Oh, why is it like that? That's why after that you start trying to make more observations and get a sense of the data being collected. So the attitude that you need to have in order for scientific inquiry is curiosity, to be curious on what is happening around you, objectivity, perseverance, keep on trying, don't give up, open-mindedness, be open to like new ideas, and integrity, do not like fake data and stuff. Okay, so what are the skills involved, right? Or what are the procedures in order for you to do a scientific methods? Is whereby you make observation, you observe what is happening around you, you analyze, infer, and predict. After that, you plan some experiment to like test your hypothesis, to test whether your conclusion is true or not. So hypothesis is like what you have concluded based on what you observe, and you decided to like give it a test. Record and analyze your results, discuss with others, summarize your results and draw conclusion. And lastly, communicate your findings to others so that everyone can learn about it and improve on the knowledge shared by the whole world. Okay, so the next part will be what are independent, dependent variables and constant factor in experiment. So to make it simple, independent variables, right, are the things that you change at the start between two similar sample. And dependent variables, right, is what you measure after you want to examine what are the things that could be measured after you change one factors between the two sample. And constant factor just means, right, these are the things that you need to keep constant so that you have a fair experiment. So this is what it means by independent, dependent, and constant factor. So if you are tested on it, you just need to state what is the factor that don't change, which is your constant factor, and what are the factors that change, and what are the factors that we are measuring, which is your dependent variable. Because dependent means, right, you depend on something. So dependent variables depends on independent variable. Yep. And the next one, what are the use and benefits of science and technology to society? Okay, so for this point over here, what does it mean? It just means, right, what benefits can we get out of science and technology? So in your notes, on page 6, you realize that we have already like give you the info on what are the advantage and disadvantage. So advantage, right, if you rephrase it, it has a similar meaning of users and benefits. So you can state all the advantage for each affected areas due to the usage of science and technology, and what are the negative impacts of science and technology to someone, to society if one misuse it, right? It will be your disadvantage. So it's your advantage, and the other one will be your disadvantage. Okay, let me state some example for you. A medicine, right? Advantage is we can like have antibiotic, have medicine, right, to cure diseases. And for disadvantage, right, it may increase the risk of antibiotics resistant superbugs. So what does it mean? So when you consume these antibiotics inside your body, it's used to like fight away the virus or to build up your immune system. So if you consume it too much, right, when your body get used to this medication, the body will not be able to like resist the next time by itself naturally. So you have to keep on depending on medicine. So in long time, the virus or the disease might upgrade itself, and after that your body wouldn't be able to like counter it or like fight against it. So this is the meaning of it may increase the risk of antibiotics resistant superbugs. So that means, right, when the virus upgrade itself, you wouldn't be able to like fight it off. So for the next one, pest and disease resistant food crops. Okay, so advantage, right, is that it resists attack from pests and like disease causing organism so that the plants can grow, the crops can grow well. But for the disadvantage, right, is that there might be some genes that might cross transfer to other like wild plants during breeding. So in a way, right, you upset the balance in the ecosystem where each one of them would like to compete with one another, and you also lose the unique species of each food crops. That means, right, some species might extinct. And for automobile, okay, just to make it simple for your understanding, you can just take it like your transportation, like your bus, your car, your MRT. All these are considered automobile. Okay, so the advantage is just very straightforward. You can just say that it allows quicker transport of people and things. Or can say that to allow us to like transport to places faster or to go to places faster. So disadvantage, right? It will be the emissions from automobile causes air pollution. Cause when we use too much of this automobile on the road, right? When we like use the fuel will give off carbon emission that can cause global warming, and even some of the other emissions such as nitrogen oxide, which you'll learn in upper sec. So these are some possible pollutants, right? When we use too much of it can cause air pollution. Okay, so for styrofoam, everyone knows that it can use to like store cups and food, as it's light and it can like contain heat. But the disadvantage is that it can not be like biodegradable. Means right, when you throw it away, it cannot like decompose by itself, and it can pollute the environment by having a lot of like trash, right, being like piled up together. It can like pollute the environment, and it can also harm and kill animals that accidentally consume it. For example, you might have seen some video whereby the marine animals, they accidentally like consume this styrofoam. After that, they got suffocated and died. So these are some of the disadvantage of like styrofoam. So no matter what things we have in our life, right, there will be always some advantage and disadvantage. So that's why we need you to learn how to analyze this advantage and disadvantage, so that when you grow up in future, you can like have this mindset, right, to make decision in life. So that's why it's important to learn this chapter 1. Okay, so the next one will be, are there limitations to science and technology in solving our problem? So over here, we know that science and tech cannot solve everything. For example, you cannot, for now, right, there are still some illnesses, right, they don't have any drugs or like any medication to it. And that's why they cannot solve all of our problem at every moment of time. It can solve some, but not all. So the keyword is all. Okay, so the next important thing that you need to know, right, is that what are some of the like lab safety rules and precaution whenever we do experiment in the lab. Since it's a science, we need to take note of some safety practice, because we don't want anyone to get injured while exploring their learning through experiment. So for safety practice, you need to learn how to like identify some symbol first, especially this one, because that's the most common one in the lab, whereby it's flammable, that is explosive, not so common. This one is corrosive, very common also when you deal with acids. Yep. And after that, you also need to learn some of the parts of the apparatus and what is it used for. So is this part over here, how to draw common lab apparatus and what are the uses of this common lab apparatus. And so what are the hazard symbol and what do they mean and what are some examples of such chemicals. Yeah. So these are some examples of some chemicals that that possess these hazards. Okay, so for the lab safety rules and precautions, right, they are mostly found inside your practical book. That's why sometimes I bring you all to the lab to do some experiment. And some of the things that we do in that lab, right, is also considered as essentials of your learning. So the safety rules, what are the do's and don'ts? There might be a lot of things here, but always remember, right, this main general point, if you feel that these actions can cause harm or can cause some like some people to neglect someone, or it can cause some unforeseen danger, then that one will definitely means that it is a dangerous thing to do. That's why they don't meet the safety rules. So when things are done properly and you feel that it is safe, they are most likely the safety precaution. So this is how I logic things out whenever I come to this chapter, like safety rules. For example, work tidily, wash all apparatus after use. This one is confirmed a safety rule that is good to follow. Because if your place is all in a mess, then it'll be very hard for you to do any experiment. And there might be some cases of like glassware like breaking and stuff when you drop on the floor. And this one is important, so read all the procedure before you start. In doubt, always ask. So if there's anything that you're unsure of in the lab, please ask. Wear safety goggle. This one is quite straightforward. I don't need to explain further why we need to wear a safety goggle. And check the labels on the container that fits the content of the container. Just check for the hazard symbol. And check whether you got the right chemicals or not. Wash your hands thoroughly after all practical work. This one is definitely important, especially for now during this COVID season. And lastly, report all accidents to the teacher. So if there's anything happening in the lab, if someone happens to like is if it's accidentally done, like even after you follow all the procedure, then you have to report the accident. No matter whether you follow all the procedure or you just happen to like overlook on some safety thing, always report all accidents to the teacher so that we can know how to help you out. So these are all the don'ts, especially the last one, taste chemical without a teacher's permission. Okay, so in the lab, right, we will advise not to drink or eat, even though the things that we obtain is pure. For example, like the distillation setup. Some of you ask me, right, is it safe to drink the pure water from the distillation process? Theoretically, it is safe because it's a pure liquid, but in the lab, right, there might be some other chemicals that is being like floating around or suspending around. So we always advise people not to like do any like drinking or eating in the lab because it's very dangerous. Okay, so this is a Bunsen burner. We have learned how to like light it up step by step. And what are the different parts of this Bunsen burner as well, which is this question here. What are the parts and functions of the Bunsen burner? So Bunsen burner, right, is just basically used to like light up and heat something. So you need to know how to light up a Bunsen burner. And what are the differences between a luminous and non-luminous flame? So these are all the steps here. So the difference between a luminous and non-luminous flame, right, is basically these two factors. Whether is it steady or not when it's burning, and whether does it burn with a soot or without a soot. Okay, so how to differentiate them, right? By the words. So luminous, right? The word lumi means like bright, something bright. So if it's something bright, it must be the orange flame. And non-luminous means it's not bright. So that's why it's the dark blue flame over here. So you need to learn how to like describe the colors of the flame also. This one is yellow on the outside and dark blue in the inside. This one is dark blue on outside, light blue inside. So to sum up chapter 1, we are learning about science. And science is the study of the physical world and natural world. And during such process, right, we need to possess the right attitude, such as curiosity, open-mindedness, so on and so forth. And after that, we need to use the scientific methods, which include skills such as engaging with an event through posing questions, formulate hypotheses, generate ideas, prediction, collect and present evidence, which is your data collected, and making meaning of information and evidence, which is your conclusion. After that, you need to communicate with other people, other scientists, so that they can build onto each other in order to have a wide database of scientific information. So science, right, involve investigation. And while you carry out investigation, right, you also need to take note of some safety precautions so that you won't get any accidents in your pursuit for science. That's why you need to learn about safety rules, what are some of the hazard symbols, and what are the functions of the apparatus and equipment so they can use the right one for the right purpose. And during the study of science, science can also be applied in practical purposes such as technology. For example, like your submarine, like your ships, like how does a submarine like sink when it's so heavy? So these are some examples of technology whereby science is being applied in technology, such as your automobile also, like your pest resistant crops. These are all some form of technology whereby science is being applied. But you need to keep in mind that technology has their own limitations and advantage. And they also have an advantage and sometimes it can be abused by people also. So these are your pros and cons, which means what are the benefits and users, and what are some of the negative impacts that technology can pose onto the humans. And what are some of the limitations? For example, technology cannot solve all problems, as there are some illnesses that have not found any cure at the moment. So this is the last part of our chapter 1 summary. Okay, so as I promised you to give you a break, now let me give you a science pun. What did the thermometer say to the graduated cylinder? Oh, you may have graduated, but I've got many degrees more than you. Okay, so I hope some of you understood the pun. Some of you might not understood, might need a little bit more time, but maybe you can ask your friends. I believe some could understand this. Okay, thank you. Now, if you have any questions, please post on the Socrative platform, and I will answer it like one by one if you have any related to chapter 1. Thank you.